Good afternoon. Thanks for stopping by Across the Fence. I'm Keith Silva, in for Fran Stoddard. As Andy Dufresne says in the movie The Shawshank Redemption, get busy living or get busy dying. This quote, mixture of sage advice and cool calculation, epitomizes the film's popularity. When it came out in 1994, it was considered a well-crafted movie with memorable performances. Critics at the time thought it was good, not great. And when it received numerous award nominations, box office audiences remained unimpressed. The Shawshank Redemption was thought to be dead. Such sentiment was, as they say, greatly exaggerated. The legacy of the film lives on and in fact has become a thriving business. You might even say it got busy living. The Shawshank Experience, tracking the history of the world's favorite movie, was co-authored by University of Vermont Professor of English Tony Magistrali and Associate Professor of English at Ashland University in Ohio, Maura Grady. Welcome.
Thanks for having us.
Thank you.
Tony, how did The Shawshank Redemption become the world's favorite movie?
Well, I guess it was the accident of time, the accident of fate. It did not do well in theatrical release, but it was because of the word of mouth that came via Blockbuster. Those of you out there who are watching us, I hope you remember the whole Blockbuster phenomenon, and that's what created the fame that's associated with Shawshank Redemption.
What does this movie have when it comes to rewatchability and just plain old appeal? What is it?
Do you want me to go at that?
Yeah, sure. Go, either of you. Go ahead, Tony.
Well, I think that it's one of those movies, it's a feel-good movie. It's one of those movies that makes people glad to be alive and to believe that it's possible to overcome tragedy and situations that seem to be untenable. I think the whole notion of it's a film that's powerful enough to make men cry, which I think is really interesting, given the fact that it's got a strong base in both genders.
How about you, Maura? Rewatchability?
Well, I talk with my students about this a lot when I teach it. The difference between suspense and surprise. King has hints all throughout the book about the ending of the story. But Darabont, the filmmaker, takes all of that out. And so the ending, if you haven't read the book before, can be a big surprise. So it's very fun, once you know what the ending is, to go back and rewatch the movie and see the little places where what's going to happen is hinted at, or you're given a false sense of what's going to happen.
Maura, you focused on the fan culture in the book. How would you describe the typical Shawshank Redemption fan?
There's no typical fan. So many people love this movie. There's such a broad base of love for this movie. But one thing that I've learned, I live in Ohio near the Reformatory and near most of the filming locations for Shawshank. Not the scene at the very end on the beach. That was not in Ohio. I'm sad to say. That was in the U.S. Virgin Islands. But otherwise, you can see almost all of the filming locations here in Ohio. So I've studied a lot the people who travel to come and see those locations. So I don't know if that's the typical fan, but of that group, we get everybody. There's full range of people. You have families with younger kids. Generations of people watch this movie together. So you often find people traveling with their, a grandpa traveling with his children and grandchildren who all love the movie and all watch it together.
Interesting.
Yeah.
Well, looming quite literally over your shoulder with your background there and in the movie is the Ohio State Reformatory, the OSR. As you mentioned, all the movie was almost shot there on location. What is the site like today?
It's amazing. The site was scheduled for demolition, and the filming stayed off the state coming in to knock the building down. And they told Darabont and his crew when they came in, look, you can do whatever you want to this thing because we're just going to knock it down after. But there had already been a local wave of support to try to take over the building and preserve it and restore it. it for historical purposes. And so that's been done. The group, the Mansfield Reformatory Preservation Society, bought the building from the state for $1 and took over all of the renovation efforts. And over the years since they did that in 95, they've managed to restore huge swaths of the building, and all of the money comes from people visiting the building. So it's supported by the fans who come and visit.
Amazing. Tony, you said earlier that you thought this was a story of hope and a story to make men cry. Does that credit go to Darabont, or are the bones of that emotion in the original Stephen King story?
It's a really good question. I think that this is one of the instances where Stephen King was bested by the screenwriter who produced the work based on his story. The King novella is only 100 pages long, right, and it's missing elements that Frank Darabont felt were crucial and were wise to put in to the film itself. Like, for example, the role that Brooks has in the film is an enormous enlargement from the role that he's got in the King novel. There is, to continue this, there is no mention of Mozart and the sopranos singing the aria from The Marriage of Figaro in the novella. And I think that that's maybe one of the most important scenes in the entire film as far as fans go. Everyone seems to respond so strongly to that moment in the prison yard, where the sound of those sopranos are piped in.
Maura, does the fact that this is a real place, you can really put your hands on the stones, so to speak, does that make a big difference in fan culture? I mean, there's a lot of places in movies we can never go. So does that really impact and make this even more of an important experience for fans?
Absolutely. Any actor will tell you that shooting on location is really important to their performance, and the actors who performed in this film talk about the atmosphere of being at OSR and some of these other places. There's a website called the Shawshanktrail.com where you can find a map that tells you all of the different locations in Ohio. So OSR is the big one, but there are other places you can visit too. And authenticity is really important to fans. They want to feel like they're having a genuine, real experience. You are not just looking at Harry Potter's castle recreated at a studio. Instead, you are looking at an actual place, and the place has its own history. So fans get to experience both their love of the movie and their feeling that they are in the movie. You can sit at the warden's desk at the reformatory and pick up the phone right where the warden shot himself. The safe is there where Andy hid the ledger. So that feeling of being really part of it, it's hard to recreate that artificially.
Do fans have an emotional response? Do they? You say you take students there to visit for your classes and stuff. Do people have wide-eyed or tears or what?
Absolutely. I mean, you asked about the fan base. There's fans of every kind. Lots of women fans. In fact, the majority of people we surveyed in 2019 who came to the 25th anniversary were women. There are a lot of people who come, and people just have as you say, a strong emotional response to feeling closer to the movie, feeling closer to this thing that they love so much.
Let me add something to what Maura's already said about the fan base here. It's not just Shawshank and the other films that have been actually filmed at the OSR. It's also the history of the OSR itself. Right. There is a whole prison culture out there. People who like to travel to go see places like the Eastern Pen in Philadelphia or the Alcatraz. Right, yeah. And they're drawn to the OSR for the same reason they're drawn to those other prisons.
We've got just a couple of minutes left, and I know each of you is a dedicated scholar and you would never let popular opinion sway your intellectual rigor, but what do you like about the Shawshank Redemption? We'll start with you, Maura.
Well, most fans if you ask them, will say the message of hope. And that is really powerful. But for me, what I think is most powerful, both in King's text and in the film, are the themes of humanity and forgiveness. That King asks us, and Darabont echoes this, that we need to remember that these characters are human beings, no matter what crimes they may have committed. And I think that's a really important message for all of us.
Tony?
I'm drawn to the fact that Darabont had the cojones to bring a black man into this film. As King has pointed out on a number of occasions, red is white in his mind as he's writing the novel, and Darabont was brave enough to bring Morgan Freeman, although that's maybe not quite as big a jump as one would imagine, but he does bring this black man into this relationship with a white man, and I think that really is powerful, and it suggests something about, well, not only that Black Lives Matter, but also that there's hope in the possibility for the races to get along with one another.
Well, we've only got a minute left. I can't go too much farther down that road. What's the final takeaway? If for someone, the 1% of folks out there that haven't seen this, why should they watch this movie?
Maura?
It's a fantastically made film in every way. The music, the cinematography, costumes, sets, production design, all of that will satisfy anyone who loves beautiful films. But it's a really patient film. It takes its time to really develop these characters and their relationships. And that's just something you don't see so much anymore.
Well, thank you very much. I really appreciate our conversation. The Shawshank Experience, Tracking the History of the World's Favorite Movie, was co-authored by Tony Magistrelli and Maura Grady. Thank you both very much. And as always, thank you for stopping by Across the Fence.